It is April 17th, 2025. My name is Carlos Whittaker, and welcome to another episode of Human School. Today, our guest lecturer is going to be my good friend, John O'Leary. If you were to Google John O'Leary, what would come back is it would say something like motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. And here's a little bit of knowledge for those of you that have always wanted to be a motivational or inspirational speaker. Most of the time, if that's in your title, that means you've had to overcome something extremely difficult, which most inspirational speakers would probably not wish on anybody. But what John does so well is he turns his story of pain, burned over his entire body when he was a young child. He'll fill you in on that story after a horrendous accident in his home, how he lost limbs and parts of his hands and his feet, and how he hid that for so long, and how he's been living through chronic pain. And where does his purpose come from? I'm telling you, this is going to inspire you like none other. And I'm so freaking excited for you to be like, yeah, guess what? I'm friends with John O'Leary, because trust me, you're going to feel exactly like that. So, Human School Familia, please welcome John O'Leary. Okay, Human School Familia. Human School is what we're calling this season of the podcast. And today's guest lecturer in Human School is, I could say my new friend, but it feels like I've known him a long time, just because I love the ethos that comes out of him. John O'Leary. John, thanks for stepping into the Human School classroom.
Carlos, there's not a better teacher than you, man. So I'm in the classroom, but I'm in the back row and looking forward to taking notes, man.
Well, unfortunately for you, today is student presentation, and I'm calling you to the front because, John, I was able to be and to talk with your audience like a month or so ago. As I've been navigating this season, honestly, for me, of grief, season of loss, a season of pain. And I feel like, I'm already off my notes. So here we go. I feel like in this season, for me, people are getting to witness just the vulnerable state that we don't like to let people look inside of. I think the internet is filled with a lot of pretty things, with a lot of music behind speeches, and a lot of and I decided to just give a glimpse of my life and the rawness and the pain that exists in it. Let's just start here for a second. For everyone that's listening, I would love for you to just let us know, within the last year, you didn't know I was going to ask you this. Within the last year, do you have anything that was painful for you to walk through? I think a lot of people know your story, a lot of people, and we're going to get into that. But just the last year, has there been any painful things that you've walked through? And maybe let us know how you walked through that.
Gosh, man. So I'll begin with this. There's a quote that hangs on my wall at the office. I'm not at the office right now, but at the office, and it says, "What is most personal and private is most universal and applicable." And It's a quote from an old theologian, John Henry Newman, I think. What is most personal and private is most universal and applicable.
Wow.
When you talk about losing your dad,
yeah,
and your neighbor's talking about the breakup of their marriage, and her neighbor's talking about the child with Down syndrome that they're struggling with right now as a young couple, and their neighbor's talking about bipolar that's showing up in the family.
Yeah.
Somehow, in all these seemingly diverse issues, we find this commonality to connect. So I've been following you for a while. I tracked you through your love of your father and the loss of him afterwards. And I love you even more because you were willing to take us down that path with you. You asked me about some struggle that I faced in the last 12 months. So I'll give you broad, and then I'll go more narrow, because I think also what's most narrow is most meaningful.
Yeah.
But broadly, man, when I was 9, I was in a house fire.
Yeah.
That isn't like something you get over.
Right.
It not only like the fire, like the memories, I remember that's searing, but I'm scarred from my neck to my toes. I'm missing my fingers on both hands. I have infections on my body from time to time. I'm in pain all the time. And so it's a continual daily struggle that I've had for 12 months and for the 37 years leading up to the 12 months. So that's a struggle I've had to walk through. Broadly in my business, we've had struggles. I'm a speaker, a podcast host, a coach. We do all these things, but navigating a team during a season of change provides struggles. Both how to invest, where to go, where to cut, what to do next. So that's a continual struggle. My marriage, I'm wild about her. I way outkicked my coverage. Her name is Elizabeth Grace. If you've seen her, you know I'm not lying. She looks like Jackie Kennedy at Jackie Kennedy's prime. And my wife gets better every day, man. Like she's gorgeous. So I'm head over heels for her. But marriage is a struggle. If we're at all honest about it, we're raising 4 kids together. We let one off of college for the first time.
Okay.
I let him go. That was hard. On the way home, learned that my friend, some of your listeners may know, John Rulin, had passed away in his early 40s with 4 young girls. That broke my heart. And then I get back to my house that night and my dad has fallen again. Why would my dad fall? Well, dad has Parkinson's disease. He's had it for 3 decades. He's immobilized, but he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
He's struggles financially, but he doesn't know it. He can't speak anymore, but he doesn't know it. He always is trying. His heart is so good. His joy is so real, but the issues he faces are now bore by his kids.
Wow.
And so like I leave my son, I lose my friend, I'm losing my dad.
Yeah.
And life is spinning.
Yes.
And yet, man, in the midst of the storm, we've got to recognize, in my mind, in my faith view, God is still God.
Yeah.
Like I still believe that he works through a young man dying prematurely. He works through a parent saying goodbye to their child. He works through a father slowly struggling toward death. And he even worked through you loving your dad and kissing his forehead and washing his feet. He works through everything. And that's what brings me such peace.
You know, as you talk about, you literally just unpacked just for you. I need everybody to understand. This is just John. This is just John. You are walking around. We're all walking around. I was walking through an airport today where I don't know how many thousands of people I passed by. And what you just said just reminds me that every single person that I walked by, the TSA agent, when I looked her in the eyes today and I was like, how's it going? And she goes, literally, John, she looks at me and goes, awful. Like, now, here's something for you. I had about 3 seconds left in that relationship to give her something, and all I did was give her a smile and say, I'm sorry. But like, we are walking around people that are hurting every single day. So do we just kind of like think to ourselves, the sky is falling, everyone has a horrible life, let's just trudge through to the end? Or what can we do? What can somebody do for John if they run across you in a grocery store? What would be something that gives you breath in your lungs as you are navigating, a pretty heavy season?
Man, so for me, and this doesn't work for everybody, but the more I turn my attention to others, the more my pain fades.
Yeah.
And I recognize, like, John, you don't know me. And like, I really don't yet. But I'm telling you, in my world, the more I stop looking at my own scars and stop looking at my own struggles and stop looking at the poor me staring back at me.
Yeah.
And the more I can turn my attention to my neighbor,
my
kids, my sweet mom, God bless her, who's doing the best she can with my dad, the more I can just pivot over to them.
Yes.
My weight is lessened. And not only that, my joy is multiplied. And so when I see, because that same TSA officer, you and I have the same job, man. It's to travel around and love on people. We have a microphone, but at the end of the day, it's one heart to one heart. It's one person at a time. It's Jesus at the well, loving one person. So when I see that TSA officer or I see that barista, the first thing I do, Carlos, is what you do. I look him in the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dude, hey, listeners, try it out. Watch what happens when you look at someone and you say, how are you? They're almost startled and they'll smile back at you because it's weird. Your customer 1737 for the day, and you're the first one to actually give a freaking darn about that person.
Yeah.
Because everyone else views them as TSA, barista stealing my money, and then they want a tip on top of it.
Yeah.
And when you can just love the one in front of you, man, so much of the struggle that you face goes away, but it also lightens their struggle too.
Totally. It's so true. And it is so easy just to tip a hat or to smile or just to give a small sense of encouragement to those that we're, walking past every day. I for one, when you said even the last 24 months has been an extension of pain that happened 37 years ago, that there's some pain that actually has never gone away. I think for me, okay, for somebody that's never actually had like physical pain in their body, that's that I don't understand, right? Like I don't understand that. And so where I would love for you to help me is, for me, that sounds exhausting, and it sounds like pain's undefeated in your life. Like, how do you even, John, how do you go on? And if I have another friend that maybe has a physical pain presence in their life that is constant, how do I show up for them? Can you maybe help us understand what that means, that you for 37 years have had physical pain because of a fire, and what that, unpack that even a little bit more for us?
I will, but I got to start, like Cinderella ends up with the prince. Like, we got to know the stepsisters don't win in this one, okay? Yeah. The evil stepmama ain't going to pull it out of this one. I will share with you the struggle, but man, you got to know, like, and I want to trade life with nobody would I trade a life with. I'm wild about my bride. We've got 4 healthy kids who like us and love us. My parents are still alive. I'm one of 6, and our siblings love each other and cheer for each other's success. Imagine that.
Wow.
And then professionally, I have the joy of traveling and writing and podcasting and all this other stuff, man. So I will talk about the pain, but please know.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like, and it's good.
Yes.
So imagine, I've heard that the women who've been burned described it as worse than childbirth.
Wow.
And eventually you recover from the burns and you recover from childbirth. But what you do not recover from is that weight of scars that pull you in toward the core. So there's this one piece that makes you feel as if you're always in a car with your muscles strapped down in position, and like that Charlie horse that you need to stretch those legs.
Yeah.
You can't wait for the truck stop. The truck stop's never coming, man, with a burn survivor. So that's one piece of it. Additionally, skin breaks down.
Yeah.
So it's imagine if you just cut easy. So that's another thing we deal with. Then because of that, infections creep in. So now you're dealing with sores on your body in places where they should not be. In addition to all of this, you're dealing with not only the view of yourself in the mirror, but on the days you decide not to look. When you go outside and you grab your mail and a stranger's walking by, they look. And if they have a child with them, they look again and again until the mother pulls them away. So the pain is with you physically, it's with you emotionally, it's with you spiritually. And if it becomes about you, I would imagine it's unbearable.
Wow.
And for many in my little community of burn survivors, if that's where they live, that's where they live for the rest of their lives as victims to what happened. Years ago, Carlos, and this is a cool story that I almost never share. Years ago, I was asking my awesome dad, who is my hero, Dad, why me? And my dad is so tender and so good. And so he's trying to answer. And finally, he gets up. He shuts the bedroom door, walks over to me, puts his hands on my legs, looks me in the eyes and says, John, dang it, why not you? This terrible thing has happened to you. And if you want to be a victim to it for the rest of your days, have at it. No one will ever blame you. And then he said, or you can choose to rise up. You can choose to be a victor. And in every room we will roll you into, or maybe one day, John, maybe one day you will walk into it. Every room you move into, people will look up in awe at what you've overcome and how you carry yourself. And Carlos, I'm 10 when he says this. And then he said, John, victim or victor, your choice, not mine. He kissed me. He walked out. I see you looking, man. That was a conversation 3.5 decades ago that shaped the arc of my life. I struggle. I get scared. And the reflection sometimes, I don't think I'll have a longevity that many people might enjoy. But I'm not going to be a victim to the struggles in front of me. And that is a lesson my daddy taught me 35 years ago.
If there's one thing I know about the Carlos Whittaker podcast listeners, it's that most of you have some sort of child in your home, whether it be a baby, to an adolescent, to a preteen, to a teenager. Most of you got these kids or grandkids in your home. and I've got something that can help them stay healthy. It is Hiya. What in the world is Hiya? Hiya is a chewable kids vitamin. When I say kids, I mean kids from 0 to 18. And it fills the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment your kids need with a yummy, yummy taste. When I say yummy, that means that the 5-year-old's gonna love this taste that they love. Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, and then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others. So listen, every single batch is third-party tested for heavy metals and all kinds of stuff that we don't want in our vitamins. I love that Hiya actually ships you these vitamins so you don't have to go to the store. If you forget about it, you don't run out of them and your routine continues on. So this is what I want you to listen to. This is super important. I know that our kids, sometimes they don't love their greens. Well, guess what? Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids. It's packed with 55 whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. All you gotta do is scoop it up, shake it, and sip it with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids are actually going to love. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamins. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you gotta go to hiyahealth.com/humanhope. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/humanhope and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, Human School Familia, listen up. I am so excited to be testing my body and my life this year with Function. And I can't wait to share with you what's going on actually inside of me. What in the world is Function? Function is an all-in-one health platform. Get this, that starts with over 100 advanced lab tests covering my entire body. Okay, all of my body and your body too. Your heart, your hormones, liver, kidney, thyroid, autoimmunity, cancer signals, toxins, nutrients, and so much more. I'm pumped about it. Why? Because it's so easy. Literally, I can sign up and set an account. You can sign up and set up an account in less than 5 minutes. Then you schedule the lab tests that you want, and then you will get your personalized results. I'm telling you, these lab tests are legitimately going to shift the way that I take care of my body, because I think one of the most important things we can do is understand our body. It actually gives us ownership of our health, okay? Function Health is about taking control of your health through data instead of doing what I've done my entire 51 years of life, which is guessing what's happening inside of my body, right? And then also, what I love is that the first set of test results, it helps me establish like a baseline for my health. Then I can take that baseline and I can see when I improve, I can see when I go down. It is so helpful. So that's what I love about Function, is that it gives me a baseline and also it gives me ownership of my health. Some of the tests that I'm super pumped about are tests that are gonna help me master my stress, right? So that's like testing our cortisol, DHEAS, measuring those things to evaluate how my body, especially in this season, is responding to stress. All right, so listen, this is what you can do. Function currently has a wait list, but they are offering my audience the chance to skip it. That's right, you can skip the wait list. Head to functionhealth.com/CarlosW or enter code CarlosW when signing up to skip the wait list. That's right, please head to functionhealth.com/CarlosW to skip the wait list. You know, I get choked up because I know of the lessons 35 years ago that my daddy taught me. And, you know, what I hope people are even hearing from this and learning from this point in the lecture of Human School is the lessons that we give our kids at 10. They may not even sink in until they're 35, but they're there. You know, I've read a lot about your dad. I've never met your dad. I've heard you talk about your dad. I feel the same pull that you feel towards your dad. Well, just what an incredible man he was. And, you know, now being in this season of taking care of him and being in this season where, you know, he may not be the giant of a man that he was for so long. What are some things that you're learning about love while you're loving your mom and your dad in this new season?
And I'm still learning that love is not about you.
Mm.
I used to think I had like a good marriage or I was a good dad or whatever. But the more just to be real, like the more I help change someone's diaper as an adult, the more I realized, John, it's not about you, man. Just go to work.
Yeah.
The more I wipe food off someone's mouth, the more I bathe a dirty face.
Yeah.
The more I wash crooked fingers that have aged and struggled and toiled and worn down. And the more I just love them.
Yeah.
And then come home tired and sad and then get to love my wife. And then act like I'm not tired as I walk down the hall and tuck in the kids and read them stories and pray with them. The more I can just be there completely with and for someone else, the more I'm recognizing about love that Hollywood lied, that Disney stole of it, and that it's not about you. And so we think it's about sex, or we think it's about, you complete me, or we think it's about the house or the beach walk, or like we think it's about all the stuff, man. Ultimately, it is about going to places with someone else that you wish you would never have to go yourself. And not apologizing for sometimes being sad when you're there, but also not apologizing for walking there with them.
You stand on stages and inspire all sorts of people. And then you stand at the bedside of your father. How do you continue to inspire him when you may have to do it differently because he may not even understand what inspiration looks like now compared to what it did 10 years ago? Yeah,
man. So I'll begin by saying I think the most important stage I stand on is not in front of thousands. And you know that. Like that's, and I don't say this despairingly, but that's a show almost. It's a microphone and the AV guys are there and it's the real me. I don't change in the light or in the dark. It's John. But the real stage is when you're in front of one who really knows you. Yeah. And I think real inspiration isn't the right words at the right time. It's the ability to sit there in silence. Dude, I'm a talk track. I've written a couple books. I do a podcast. Like if you need me to, I can carry the tone for a while.
Yeah.
But at home, I don't. And with my dad, I certainly don't. I think the best thing Dad and I do together is sit together. Dude, come on, man. Like, what am I supposed to say? How do I inspire him to realize Parkinson's isn't that bad, Dad? Old age isn't that bad. The fact that almost every one of your friends has passed away, it's not that bad. The fact that you have no money, it's not that bad. Like, what inspiration is going to help there? What helps there is, dude, it is bad. You are so brave. You are so loved. And I'm so glad I get to spend this time with you. That is the inspiration people are longing for. And you don't need to be a motivational speaker to deliver it. You need to have the gall to leave the comfort zone and go love someone else where they are.
Oh, it's just so true. Like it's like presence gets such a bum rap when it comes to how truly inspiring presence actually is. You're just there. You're just there. Sometimes that's the most powerful thing that any of us can do. I mean, I can think of 3 people right now that I could probably just go sit with and not even have a conversation, just be with them. My mom literally just last night landed after 7 weeks in Southern California after burying my dad. She just landed back in Nashville and she picked Losian up at the airport and I up at the airport today, and I could see it in her eyes. She's lost. And guess what I get to do to inspire her? I'm not going to go over there and give her a speech, right, John? What am I going to do? I don't know. I'm probably going to put on Severance and sit on the sofa and let us veg together for a little bit tonight. That's just so powerful. I want everybody to get that. Would you mind, John? One of the things I read, I can't remember where I read this. I read this somewhere. When you talk about the book that your parents wrote about that season in your life, I think you called it an unauthorized biography.
That's funny, dude. I mean, that's not out there in a whole lot of spots. So yes, you did your homework on that one.
I did. Right. So they had actually written a book about the fire and about kind of what, that season of your family's life. We've mentioned it a few times. People have heard. Can you actually just unpack that story of I guess I would call pain to purpose in your life?
So, I mean, it's a lifelong story. So you're asking I'm 48 years now summed up
Let's go.
in a
You know what?
soundbite.
Hold on. Let me put the new SD card in and let's go for 48 years. I'm ready. Let's go.
How about it's in 90 seconds? Here we go.
Okay.
So 9 years old, witnessed kids in my neighborhood playing with fire and gasoline. I figured if they could do it, I could do as well. Mom and dad are gone on a Saturday morning. The house is mine. Walk into the garage, bend over a 5-gallon can of gasoline. Monkey see, monkey do. Be careful. They're watching us, people. They're watching the way you treat the TSA officer.
Yeah.
Aren't they, Carlos? They're watching every step.
They're
so
watching.
I'm watching these kids. I'm over the can by myself. Piece of paper lit up on fire in my left hand, can in my right. Fumes. Pull it in. Massive explosion. Splits the can in two. John is now burned. Ultimately, short story, shorter, on 100% of my body. 87% of the burns, 3rd degree. Spent 5.5 months in hospital. The very first person to come into the hospital, because you and I both are wild about our dads, is my dad. The first thing he says to me, now recognize I'm 9. I blew myself up. I burned down his house.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure what he's going to say. He comes into the room and the very first thing he says is, John, look at me when I'm talking to you. So he's a veteran dude. I look up at my dad and I go, without saying a word, I look up knowing that the end is near. And he says, I have never been so proud of anyone in my entire life. And my little buddy today, I am just proud to be your dad. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
Right behind my dad comes my mom. She tells me she loves me. I tell her, Mom, am I going to die? And she says, Carlos, hear this. She goes, do you want to? And I say, Mom, I don't want to die. She goes, good, baby. Then listen to me. Take the hand of God, walk the journey with him, and you fight like you never fought before. Your daddy and I are not leaving, but for your part, fight. And what that fight led into was that 5.5 months, daily bandage changes that took 2 hours, rounds of amputation, skin grafts, struggle, man, therapy, the works, but eventually the homecoming. And then you brought up the unauthorized biography, because when finally that front door shut that first night home, my commitment was not to be on the Carlos Whittaker podcast.
Right.
It was not to be called from the back row of class, dude. My dream was to be normal.
Yeah.
So I spent my life into my late 20s striving for ordinary.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And then my mom and dad, what finally changed our collective lives is I got married, still being ordinary, still covering my hands, still trying to pretend like I wasn't burned. I get married to this gorgeous girl named Beth. And they're in the front row on the left-hand side, and they're just watching all this like, holy cow. We'd wondered for decades, like, what happens to our son's story? And now we know. It's good. It's blessed. So they wrote it. They wrote that book in, I think, 24 days. They printed it, 100 copies. They've sold 100,000.
Wow.
You're an author, man. Like, that's hard to do with a real company behind you and a marketing machine and a podcast. But the book was worthy. I think the story's worthy. And I'm skipping over like the heart of it. The real heart of our story, and then I'll be quiet, is how tough John is. It is how the community of people who looked, acted, voted, and worshiped differently showed up for this little boy. What they did, not me. What they did. And how their love transformed a little boy and his family to become a far better version of themselves. They are the heroes. So when I wrote a book called On Fire, and they put a picture of me on the front of it, I wrote back to the editor, and I'm like, hey guys, read the book. It's not about me, man. So when you hold On Fire now, like it says On Fire, and it's called foil wrap. And in that foil wrap, you see yourself, not me.
Wow.
The whole idea is, man, regardless of your past, your mistakes, your brokenness, how you were born, the community you were born into, how you were raised, you can be used for good, but you got to step forward and step up.
If there's one thing that in 2025 I decided to drink more of, it's water. And less of, it's alcohol. I'm drinking so much more water. I've probably only had like 3 drinks of alcohol. And it's like February 18th now. That's crazy. But I'm drinking so much water that my poor 51-year-old bladder is always going to the restroom. But guess what? It is healthy for me. And I'm actually drinking the healthiest water I've drank in a long time. Why? Because it's coming through my AquaTrue filter. Listen, I know and you know that drinking water is important to staying hydrated because 60% of our bodies are made of water. But if you're like me, you just don't trust the tap water. Listen, I'm not talking about our metro city government. I'm not saying they're trying to poison us, but I'm just saying we can make it healthier, right? So I know you want your kids to grow up healthy and strong. I want mine. I know that we want to drink the healthiest water available. That is why my family, literally upstairs right now on the kitchen counter, has our AquaTrue water filtration system. Now listen, AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process. And their countertop purifiers, which is what I have, it works with zero installation or plumbing. That's right. Like literally, we just pour the water into it and then the water comes out purified. Okay, long-term exposure to high concentrations of PFAS can potentially lead to adverse health effects. We don't want none of that happening. The filters are affordable and they're long-lasting. Okay, we've actually never changed our filter and we've had this thing up there for 8 months. The filter is still good. Okay, best of all, the water tastes fantastic and you don't have to worry about any of the other harmful contaminants. I can truly taste the difference compared to every other water filter that I've owned. I promise you that. Ask my wife, she can taste it as well. I even use it for my coffee. So listen, AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes a great gift. Today, the Carlos Whittaker podcast listeners receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com. That's AQUATRU.com and enter code Carlos at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use promo code CARLOS. When did you realize that, or maybe even understand how like extraordinary that community support was that came around? Like was it at 9 or was it, when did that actually make your jaw go, holy cow?
Well, you asked earlier about like love.
Yeah.
And if you asked a guy married on the altar, they'd probably say, I get love, man. Look, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you go through that first fight or you lose her dad to cancer. Or you spend that first night wondering whose job is it to pick up the sick kid because he's got a fever and someone's got to settle him. And you begin over time to recognize love. So that's an evolution. And you and I don't know anything about love compared to what we will know next year and the following decade.
Right.
I think that same truth is alive and well in our stories, in particular for those of us who've been impacted by community and who hasn't. So when I'm going through it, I don't recognize it. When I start speaking in my late 20s, I don't recognize it. When I got an opportunity of speaking to a group of prisoners, I started to see it. When I got invited to healthcare organizations and janitorial supply companies and the folks who actually make the needles, I got to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
When I spoke at a burn center in Costa Rica.
Wow.
And then went to one in El Salvador and see these little kids who are so poor and so fragile that they don't even have morphine. But you see their families around them and the caregivers around them, and they're working through this time together. You recognize that you're not the hero in your story. You're called to be a beautiful mosaic tile on someone else's. And this isn't language I've like rehearsed. It's just, you draw it out of me, man. Like, the story of being human isn't ultimately in the first world paradox of like, man, look at how much I've accomplished.
Sure.
Until very, very, very recently, like the last couple decades, it was about how do I do things so that my kids can do better?
Right.
It's only recently Facebook and MySpace and me in the mirror has come along to say, I had no idea I even had kids, but they do make for good props. I could probably get more likes if I put them into it. So the whole world is now about us.
Yeah.
And your work, it's why I love you, and your community's efforts is about how do we show for others?
Yeah.
And in doing so, we, not I, we become great.
Yeah. We, to move from me to we to everybody. I heard somebody say that once, like that's actually the new challenge in our society is how do we move from me, which is the cameras facing ourselves, to we, to everybody. Like how do we continue to do this and evolve? You were talking about how, up until, I mean, we'll realize it at 80 what love actually looks like, right? There was a clip that I saw going around Facebook or TikTok, and it was like a worship band that was singing this song, like, "All my life you have been faithful," right? And like, I can sing that song in church, or like I can see a 30-year-old singing that song. But the clip was this worship band, and they were all like at least 90 years old. So like the lady playing the piano or the keyboard was like 100. The lady playing the bass, and she was singing "All My Life You Have Been Faithful," and she had tears coming down her face. And that song hit me totally different when I saw her singing that song. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Dude, that woman playing the piano and singing with tears has lost a spouse, I promise you, has lost at least one child, I promise you, endured World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, all kinds of bigotry. Like, she has been through the ringer twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here she is jamming on the pearly whites, man. All my life you have been faithful.
Woo!
That is as soon as you let me go, I'm not going to work, dude. I'm Googling that story.
You got to find it. I will text it to you. It was so good. You know, John, I mean, you obviously hear it, like, you know, when you talk or have a conversation with somebody, you do have a unique gift. And I'll call it an anointing because I get to say that because of my belief system and structures. But like, I just want to let you know, like, specifically that, like, I am so freaking pumped for, like, you've accomplished a whole lot, but like the people that are about to be touched by you and your story, and the next story that you're going to get to live. I'm like speaking this over you. It is going to be mind blowing for your wife, your beautiful wife, your kids, like your mom, your dad. Like, this next season is going to be amazing. And I am so grateful that you'd even let me, you know, sit with you for 30 minutes and let you talk to me for a few minutes, because I'm leaving freaking pumped.
Let me just say this, man. You're talking to a guy who's dyslexic. I'm not joking. I barely got out of high school. I don't know why they let me in college. They must have really wanted the money.
Yeah.
I barely got out of college. I started my own business in construction after graduating because I couldn't get a job.
Wow.
A dude with no fingers started a career in construction.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's like something there. I did it poorly, as you could imagine any dude without fingers doing carpentry might do it. So you're not on the phone with a stud today, like, "John, you got the look and the muscles, baby. We appreciate looking up to you." You're on the phone. You're on this podcast with the most broken guy.
Yeah.
And that's not humility. It's just like,
yeah,
it's so true. I'm so damaged. And yet, that's like some of my favorite words right there. And
yet
we can be used.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening to this conversation between two guys who just seem lit up for life and their world is unpacking in front of them and it's all good, know this, it's not all good. There are struggles. There still are struggles, and there are struggles to come. And yet we are convicted that the best days are in front of us. And we are convicted that God can use ordinary broken vessels for good.
Yeah.
He's proven it out right now with two dudes on the call. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with all the listeners afterwards.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. John, this has been amazing. And I'm just grateful that somehow you ended up in my life and now you're stuck with me. So this is awesome.
John Deloney is why I ended up in your life. Then I got to read your book and it blew my mind. Then I got to make you my friend. Then I got to share you on our podcast.
That's right.
And dude, now I get to sit back in the back row of this class and take more notes.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Love you. Thanks, Carlos.
What is most personal and private is most universal and applicable. Yo, John, when you dropped that dime on us, that I became a new man. And that was just that, right? I mean, how many incredible things are you taking from this conversation? When John looks at his dad and says, "Dad, why me?" And his dad is like, "John, why not you?" You know, just that moment from his dad where he's like, "This terrible thing has happened to you, but if you want to be a victim the rest of your life, you can go for it." And again, nobody's going to blame you. And I love that. It's like his father actually gave him permission because the moment demanded acceptance of this could very well make me a victim, and I can stay in that place because I deserve it. Or you can rise above it and be a victor, a victim or a victor. Your choice, not mine. Hey, Human School friends, what's your choice going to be? Are you going to be victorious, or are you going to decide not to? I'm so grateful, John. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next week on another episode of Human School.